Here we are, bright and early on Friday night. This one ended at 11:30. Thank you, NFL Draft Rounds 2 and 3. Got a little bit of an earlier start. Adam Azer, Dave Richard, and Jamie Eisenberg. You're going to hear Heath Cummings tomorrow with Chris Trapasso and Jamie. I will not be on the show on the Saturday episode when we recap the last 4 rounds. And maybe, it's possible we're going to get our favorite rookie running back in the third day of the NFL draft. So we'll see. Good evening, guys. First, I have 2 big questions for you. All right, I'll go on my little rant making fun of myself in a second. Here's the first question, though. How likely is it that Keon Coleman, Buffalo Bills' first pick of the first pick of the second round to the Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman out of FSU, or Ladd McConkey, who went just after him to the Chargers, will be a top 15 wide receiver as a rookie? That's lofty. But what do you think? Give me odds that Coleman or McConkey just ball out, have huge rookie years.
Plus 290.
Yeah, I was going to say 15, 20% chance.
Yesterday, I think I was just delirious because it was so late. And I started talking about, we've never really had, you can't find an example of a rookie wide receiver going to an elite cornerback and being the clear-cut number 1 target. And I think maybe I was anticipating talking about the Bills in that manner in day one. And I was like, so then I awkwardly pivoted to Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs. But this is it. I mentioned Christian Watson was kind of an example, but he basically missed the first half of the season, barely played. And then he had a really strong second half. He was a top 10 receiver in the second half with Aaron Rodgers, and he was a second-round pick in the NFL draft. But this is it, guys. This is Josh Allen and Justin Herbert getting Coleman and McConkey respectively. It doesn't really happen. It's a really unique opportunity for these guys, Dave.
It is. And so you're banking on them to get a pretty sizable target share on their team without anybody else on their teams really improving. And maybe you can believe that in LA, because look at who else is in LA. It's Quentin Johnson, it's Josh Palmer, and I don't even know if I can name all the tight ends that are still there. Is Antonio Gates still there? In Buffalo, we know that there's Dalton Kincaid, and we think that there's a chance now that he could be the top target getter in Buffalo. I love that. But there's also Khalil Shakir, who's a guy that we've talked about a lot in the last 8 months. And there's Curtis Samuel, who knows the offense. He's had a role in a Joe Brady offense before. So I'm a little bit worried about Keon Coleman kind of being a little bit restricted on the targets compared to Ladd McConkey. I think there's a chance McConkey could have 70 catches as a rookie, but he might be the type of receiver who's between 70 and 80 catches and between 800 and 1,000 yards every year with modest touchdowns. I don't know if he explodes. I'm working through how I feel about the wide receivers in Dynasty. He's in the conversation to be a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver. Is he number 4? I'm not sure yet.
What's your take on this, Jamie, here with, again, Keon Coleman, who's really interesting prospect. We've talked about him a lot, but if you hadn't been tuning into the pre-draft stuff, I don't know if it was the slowest and the fastest or among the slowest and among the fastest, but I think he ran the slowest 40 among wide receivers and the fastest gauntlet.
Yes.
Which is basically exactly, I've said this 6 times, I'm sorry, but in case you haven't heard, exactly what Puka Nacua did last year. So there is that. Chris Trapasso, guy we had on, does not like him. He mentioned that he doesn't make contested catches, and that's something that I noticed too. So it was nice to see someone who actually studies the film feel the same way. So Coleman going, I was a little bit surprised he was the pick there. Then McConkey going with the very next pick. Okay, go ahead. Dave gave his thoughts. Go ahead, Jamie. Give me yours.
Look, they both ended up with very good quarterbacks, and they both have an opportunity to be the lead receiver on their team right away. I would lean toward McConkey also. I just think, you're looking at a little bit more of a polished product coming into the league. And the thing that holds, I have reservations on, is the system. It's hard to get excited about the system. You get excited about Justin Herbert, and you know what he's been with Keenan Allen. You've seen what he's been at times with Mike Williams, so he can, play with different kind of receivers and make them great. And that would be the hope, is that, we're we're looking at this. I don't know if it was you who brought it up or who said, was it yesterday about what, or maybe on the previous show, what,
Come on. Was it something good? Because if it was something good, I will claim it.
what Harbaugh did with Andrew Luck.
I was not.
In terms of having a pass first offense and using or having a pass first, a pass heavy type offense, not just relying on the run. So when he has a quarterback, he'll lean on his quarterback as a passer, and hopefully that's the case. I know it's a little bit different with Greg Roman and what he's done and how they want to run the ball, but in any event, I think both these guys have an opportunity to be in the top 5 rookie wide receivers, have the opportunity to be significant contributors right away. I don't think you have to necessarily reach for them in a rookie only draft. You certainly don't have to reach for them in a redraft league, and they have an opportunity to be very, very solid players. So I'll lean toward McConkey slightly over Coleman, but again, we said this, the Bills are looking for an alpha, and maybe they found one in Keon Coleman.
We have had 4 or more. Let me see. We've had 4 to 6 wide receivers, rookie wide receivers, finish top 36 overall 5 straight seasons. That's kind of surprising in non-PPR, and 4 of the last 5 seasons in PPR. So that's 4 to 6 wide receivers finishing in the top 36, basically 5 straight seasons. 5 straight seasons in non-PPR, 4 of the last 5 in full PPR. Hopefully we get that again. I did a Twitter poll, a Twix poll, and I'm trying to find, because they only get 4 options on Twitter, the 4 best options to finish as the number 2 rookie wide receiver behind Marvin Harrison. Yesterday I had Brian Thomas on there. I forgot who else I had on. I know I had Xavier Worthy and Malik Neighbors. I kept Neighbors and Worthy. I added Coleman and McConkey. Who do you think will be the number 2 rookie wide receiver? Neighbors, 47% of the vote. Worthy, 21%. Coleman, 16%. McConkey, 17%. I do find it interesting that Neighbors is running away with it, even though he does not have Mahomes. He does not have Allen. He does not have.
But he has a clear path to targets, and when you put talent and opportunity, again, it's as much as you may want to crap on Daniel Jones, and I'm saying I'm saying just in general, people want to crap on Daniel Jones. He still can support a number 1 caliber wide receiver.
Okay, so how would you guys rank the top 5 rookie wide receivers right now?
For redraft?
Mm-hmm.
Harrison 1, Neighbors 2. I'll still go Worthy 3.
Ooh.
Good stuff.
You're not going to give the rest?
McConkey 4.
Uh-huh. You got a Dunze. I mean, you can't just skip a Dunze, right? Brian Thomas. I don't know if there's anyone else.
That's the thing. They're in crowded situations.
Yeah, no, I had to at least say the name. Yeah, all right.
McConkey 4, and I'll say Coleman 5.
Dave?
Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Worthy, McConkey.
Oh, Odunze 3. Okay.
A shocker, right? The 9th overall pick in the draft. The 3rd receiver taken in the draft.
But this is, and I'm not, saying Dave's wrong. This is what we were saying about, Jackson Smith-Njigba last year. He was 1st round pick and talented guy, but ended up in, being in a crowded situation, and it wasn't good.
It's a great point. All right. My next question for you. 4 running backs were taken on day 2. One of them was in round 2. The other were in round 3. They were Jonathan Brooks to Carolina, tore his ACL in November. Trey Benson out of Florida State going to the Cardinals. Blake Corum out of Michigan going to the Rams. And Marshawn Lloyd out of USC going to the Green Bay Packers. Are any of them going to be in your top 24?
If Brooks is healthy come week 1, yes. But right now, no.
Yeah, he's going to be really close when the rankings publish this weekend. And if he's healthy, he might be like 20th. If he's ready to go, he's got a great shot to be the 1A running back in Carolina. The competition isn't that tough. It's Chuba Hubbard and the ghost of Miles Sanders. So I think that Brooks could have a huge opportunity. I think that offensive line's gotten a lot better. I think that team will be more competitive. And I love what Dave Canales has done with running backs, specifically Rachaad White last year in Tampa. He just handed him the silver platter and said, all for you, big boy. And he had tons of work and tons of touches. And I could see Brooks as a young, he'll barely be 21 when he starts this season. Just getting plenty of work. As long as he looks good in camp, no pup list, no worries about him not being his old self. Yeah, he's the RB1 in this class and a definite candidate to be a top 20 to 24 running back.
It's ACL tear in November. How healthy will he be come training camp? And we spent a lot of time last offseason talking about the upside and more likely the downside of Breece Hall and Javonte Williams. And I think it played out, sort of evenly. Breece Hall was, sort of the optimistic tale of somebody who can overcome an ACL tear and be better because he was. And Javonte Williams kind of struggled through the season, and sometimes it's not always just the player coming back from injury, it's circumstances. Is this the ideal circumstance? We'll find out how much Canales likes Chuba Hubbard and how much he likes Miles Sanders, because I think, Dave's going to bring up the Tampa situation. There's more competition for Brooks in Carolina than there is for what Rachaad White had in Tampa Bay. The guys behind him weren't that good, and we'll find out if Chuba Hubbard was a good enough player last year in Canales' mind. If Miles Sanders can, rebound with better talent around him, it's hard to expect that, but I still think there's tougher competition for Brooks in Carolina than there was for White last year. So that probably played into a little bit of what Canales was doing, but there's just so much to like about this kid. I mean, he was off to such a great start in Texas before he got hurt, and if he can bounce back and play at a high level, youth will be on his side, probably similar to what it was with Breece Hall, that he can, hopefully bounce back and do some nice things.
Jonathan Brooks averaged 6.1 yards per carry and 11.4 yards per catch. He could be a 3-down back. It's an exciting player coming out of Texas. And Dave talked about it, an absolute legend in high school, 62 rushing touchdowns in 15 games in his senior season out of high school. I do have to take a break. I want to talk a lot more about these guys, because I think on paper right now, 4 running backs going. This was the second longest, heard this on the ESPN broadcast, the second longest that we've ever waited for the first running back to come off the board. So we know it's just not that good of a class. Only one in the first 2 rounds. I mean, right now it's looking like the worst running back situation, rookie running back situation that I've seen in the last 10 years. Just looks horrible. Because the other 3 guys are backups, So, right, Corum. Yeah, for now. I mean, you got James Conner, Kyron Williams, and who am I blanking on here? Josh Jacobs, as the starters, and they just drafted backups for them in the 3rd round. That's a horrible situation, but we still have the Cowboys lurking in round 4. Things could change.
So funny that the best destination is still available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jalen Wright, let's go.
And the Chargers, I don't know if they're the best anymore with 2 former Ravens, but they haven't taken a running back either. All right, I got to take a break. We will talk about all of this here. I'll tell you about the 3 teams who have drafted 2 offensive linemen in the first 3 rounds. And I'll tell you about the 2 teams that have made a combined 13 picks already. And we'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
The best couch potatoes come from Pluto TV country.
And these taters, they like all sorts of different things.
Survivor Channel, Ink Master Channel.
If it's got a spaceship in it, I'm probably watching it.
3 channels dedicated to CSI.
Whatever mood you're in, it's going to be easy watching.
All right, so just a quick programming note. After day 3, Jamie, Heath, and Chris Trapasso will break it down for you. And given that we've only had 4 running backs off the board, tomorrow could be a pretty damn cool day for running back value. We'll see. And maybe still I think Troy Franklin's still available. That was a little surprising. So still some good wide receivers out there and still tight ends. Only 2 pass-catching tight ends have been selected. 3 tight ends have been selected, but the one the Cardinals drafted is, according to Chris Trapasso, the best blocking tight end in this class. Okay, news and notes. So, new Carolina running back Jonathan Brooks, according to Ian Rappaport, should be ready for training camp. Dallas is apparently close to signing Ezekiel Elliott. Ray, the Cardinals have made 7 picks so far, 2 of them cornerbacks, and the other 5 at different positions. Washington has made 6 picks. Quarterback, actually 4 of the 6 have been on offense for Washington. So those 2 teams have made a ton of picks already. And 3 teams I mentioned before the break have drafted 2 offensive linemen. The Cowboys, Tyler Guyton in round 1 and guard Cooper Beebe in round 3. The Raiders, and you think about, someone has a question here in the chat. We can get into this. Which players have seen their values rise or fall the most? So I can find it in the chat. You got to think about Las Vegas's running back, Zamir White, because they haven't brought anybody in there. And they're one of the 2 teams that's drafted 2 offensive linemen, including a center, Jackson Powers Johnson in round 2 and tackle Delmar Glaze in round 3. And the other team, come on, Arthur Smith must be loving this. 2 offensive linemen for the Steelers. Potentially 2 interior offensive linemen, Troy Fautanu in round 1 and center Zach Frazier in round 2. Dave, your thoughts on the quarterbacks that went today?
Oh, well, they were really good. They'll be just as good as Michael Penix in 2024.
I guess before we get to the running backs and the receivers, let's address that question. Where is that? Oh, here we go. It's from Matt Marson. After day 2 of the draft, whose stock has risen the most and who has slipped the farthest? Jamie, you want to talk about who has risen the most?
We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Kyler Murray has certainly seen his stock rise with the addition of Marvin Harrison. For what it's worth, Daniel Jones with the addition of Malik Neighbors. You mentioned Zamir White. You talk about some of these running backs that didn't get any competition so far. Could we be sitting here in a month saying Rico Dowdle is a potential RB2, or even Ezekiel Elliott? If the Cowboys go through the draft without adding a running back, and we're looking at Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott competing for that job. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins coming off of his knee injury, Achilles injury. Is he going to be ready to go to be there come the start of the season? So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on there. We talked about this a little bit earlier tonight when we were doing some of these, videos after some picks. Guys like Anthony Richardson and Aaron Rodgers, how much do they benefit with just another pass catcher on their roster? Mm-hmm. In terms of guys who have slipped, I think, like Josh Downs, for example, getting Adonai Mitchell, Mike Williams getting the addition of Corley. You look at some of those guys. Khalil Shakir, does he lose with Keon Coleman coming on the roster? It's some of the second tier guys I think that are going to be in some trouble after what happened certainly today.
Thoughts, Dave? Winners and losers?
I think it's kind of obvious who the winners and losers are, especially when it comes to the running backs. We already talked about, Jonathan Brooks is in Carolina. It's bad for their running backs. Marshawn Lloyd's in Green Bay. Not that anyone was excited to draft A.J. Dillon, but now they just won't do it. And Josh Jacobs could take a hit. He probably won't be ranked quite as high for me as he was before the draft started. And Kyron Williams, I've already seen a couple of questions. Is this bad for Kyron Williams that Blake Corum is in L.A.? And they don't have the same skill set. Corum is physical, and he could be the guy that wears down defenses in the second half. But I would imagine that Kyron Williams, A, will play on all the passing downs, and B, will be the primary back for L.A. And it means that Corum won't necessarily make it a 50-50 split. He's going to be a tremendous handcuff, but it might take a little bit of work away. It might take some short yardage touchdowns away from Kyron Williams this year.
Yeah, I want you guys. Yeah, right. Blake Corum, so good near the goal line. Unbelievable. The best in the business in college football, I would have to say.
We all thought he'd go to LA, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Harbaugh, Roman Wilson went a lot later than McConkey, but you did hear the 3 slot guys sort of grouped together, right? You had Wilson, McConkey, and Pearsall. And he didn't take a Michigan guy there. He took McConkey. So that's pretty cool. Adonai Mitchell, guy that I saw in a lot of first-round mocks going 52nd overall. You got to like that for Anthony Richardson. Remind me when we talk about the running backs to ask you if you really do think that they're a threat to the starters. Is James Conner a downgrade now? But let me just say this. I'm going to throw it out there. It's a personal preference kind of thing. I've been sort of in and out on Keon Coleman. And I watched a lot of him this morning because I knew I was going to have to talk about him. I think I'm out again, but I love the landing spot.
Right. That's
but
the problem.
I'm gonna say, I wish that had been a different guy. I'm going to say Josh Allen's a loser. This doesn't do enough for me personally. I recognize, as I say this, I recognize he could be great. I mean, he could be really good. And a lot of people are Keon Coleman guys. But yeah, Josh Allen, he's not going to be my number one quarterback.
Jamie, how many guys have you seen that are like Keon Coleman that come into the league and the big, tall, physical receivers, but maybe not physical enough and certainly not fast enough? We could start, spitting names back and forth. I don't know if there are many that last a long time and certainly play at a high level.
We talked about one yesterday, Calvin Benjamin.
Yep.
Quentin Johnston comes to mind, just in terms of a guy who flopped, who had high expectations.
But at least he's got some speed.
Yeah, but I mean, just in terms of big players that have some questions. I mean, Quentin Johnston had drop issues, because he's a body catcher. So, is Keon Coleman going to be the type of player that elevates Josh Allen and fits into this, opportunity, takes advantage of this opportunity? I hope so. You get excited about fit, and that's the hope. But man, it's I think, Adam, to your point, this was not what you wanted to see for Josh Allen coming out of the draft. And I think kind of the same thing for Justin Herbert. You looked at yesterday where they were, what they had the opportunity to get, whether it was Neighbors or Dunze or whatever, Bowers, trade down and maybe get something a little bit better than McConkey. It feels like these two guys didn't get the exact answer to help their receiving cores in their fantasy outlook.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there was anybody that it could have been for the Bills. Like, I love Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs. If they had taken Brian Thomas, I think at least Brian Thomas is regarded as very raw with a lot of upside. I don't really hear people saying that about Keon Coleman, but I don't want to put my personal bias in it, right? I mean, I probably should trust the Bills. No, I probably should. I like Benson. I probably should trust the Bills to make this evaluation, but we see these types of decisions go wrong all the time. And for what it's worth, terrible track record of players drafted in the first 10 picks of round 2 as rookies. I went and looked at the last 10 drafts, and I think there were 2 guys who were really good. One of them was T. Higgins. I can't remember who the other one was. First 10 picks of round 2. Well, you still had guys that went later who were really good. Oh, Michael Thomas was the other one. But yeah. All right. So we'll see how that works out for Josh Allen. Is he your number one quarterback?
No, it's going to be Mahomes for me.
Dave?
Haven't decided.
Okay. We'll do a mock draft this week. We'll see what happens. Okay, so let's talk about the running backs here. And Jonathan Brooks, who Jamie said if he's ready for week 1, he could be, top 20 guy?
Top 24. I don't think he'll crack the top 20 for me. But, after the addition of Benson, for example, could I see myself putting Brooks ahead of James Conner? Yes. Who's just inside the top 20. So assuming he's ready to go, he'll be ahead of somebody like that, for example.
What about Najee? Fast forward to August. Brooks has been practicing.
I go back and forth with Najee just because I think, you look at the situation, it's very ideal for him. It's a coordinator who likes to lean on one guy. He's certainly going to be the lead rusher. It's going to be a better offense.
You said that Arthur Smith likes to lean on one guy?
As a coordinator.
For his running backs?
As a coordinator?
Oh, as a coordinator. Not necessarily as a play caller.
When
that one guy was Derrick Henry, I don't blame him. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
But then you got Cordell Patterson there.
Jalen Moore.
They're once you get past kind of like RB18, there feels like there's just going to be a group that's going to get shuffled back and forth a million times. So Najee's in that group, DeAndre Swift's in that group, Connor's in that group still. I'm starting to put Zamir White ahead of that group, just based on his opportunity right now in the offense that he's in. So it's Javonte Williams in that group, so that's where, I think Brooks will live if he's healthy.
Okay.
That's early round 6.
Let's not forget that
it's in that range.
Let's not forget that
earlier, I think I'm out on Brooks if he's in round 6.
Carolina made major upgrades on their offensive line with Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. They were very aggressive there, especially on the interior of their offensive line, which was a huge problem for them last year. I also, by the way, I didn't talk about Jalen Polk, because I keep talking about at wide receiver. We'll get to him in a second, but I keep talking about Keon Coleman and Ladd McConkey and just Jalen Polk to the Patriots. That was an interesting pick. Back to the running backs here. Trey Benson. All right, so Trey Benson to Arizona, Blake Corum to the Rams, Marshawn Lloyd to the Packers, all of them in round 3. Dave, how would you rank them this year? And then how would you rank them in Dynasty?
Benson is going to be number 1 in both formats between the 3 of those guys. I will probably take Corum ahead of Lloyd this year. Dynasty, I will probably take Corum ahead of Lloyd there too.
Jamie, same question to you. Ranking those 3 round 3 running backs. Arizona's Trey Benson, Rams getting Blake Corum, Packers getting Marshawn Lloyd in Dynasty. First in redraft, then in Dynasty.
Redraft would be that order. Dynasty would be that order also.
Okay. And I don't know how much more time we don't really need to spend that much time on them. So do you downgrade? Yeah. Do you downgrade Kyren Williams or Josh Jacobs, guys?
I mean, it feels like Jacobs is going to have a very crowded room. You know, bringing back AJ Dillon, who's a guy the coaching staff is comfortable with, whatever you want to think of him. You know, clearly Matt LaFleur and the ownership and the front office group there, you know, they felt like there was a need to bring AJ Dillon back after signing Josh Jacobs, and to add another guy to this. You know, it's never a bad, you know, situation to add talent, and Marshawn Lloyd certainly has plenty of talent. But what does that mean? You know, where is the playing time coming from? Is it coming from Dillon or is it coming from Jacobs, and making sure Jacobs healthy after he, you know, suffered through some injuries last year? So it's a downgrade for him. You know, he was my RB12 right now, and he'll probably slip to probably like 13 or 14. For Kyren, you heard this at kind of the right when he got hurt, if you recall, and he missed I think it was 3 games. It was Ronnie Rivers going to get more opportunities. And we started to see that a little bit from the Rams. And then he got hurt, and then Kyren came back, and he was just an absolute monster. Once he came back from the injury, I think it was a foot injury, a heel injury, I'm not mistaken. It just feels like they don't want to make him do as much as he did.
So do you think he's a first round pick, Kyren Williams?
So he'll. I had moved him ahead of Taylor and Gibbs. He'll be behind those 2 guys now, because I think, you know, if you're going to knock Gibbs for sharing with David Montgomery, you got to give a little bit of a downgrade to potentially Corum coming in and taking something away from Kyren Williams. So they were close to begin with for me. Taylor's got nobody at this point, you know, to share work
except
with.
for Anthony Richardson.
It's fair. We didn't see those guys play together at all. But you know, this is a guy that once led the NFL in rushing and, you know, scored over 20 touchdowns. So I'll probably rank it now: Taylor, Gibbs, Kyren.
Okay. Dave, what do you think? Do you downgrade Kyren Williams? And what the stat I wanted to give on Blake Corum, he had 47 carries from inside the 3-yard line, and he scored 34 touchdowns on 47 carries. That is insane. But he's not. He's just kind of small to me to be that kind of a running back. They worked in college. I don't know if it'll work in the NFL. What do you think,
Right. Dave? And so that's something that the Rams are going to have to figure out. But he definitely does not profile as a good route runner or a good hands man, someone that can play on third downs. He's not even that great of a pass protector, from what I recall. Don't quote me on it. I'm going to have to double check it. I'm curious how Kyren did in those short yardage situations.
6 touchdowns on 11 carries. I looked at all the carries. I thought he played pretty well. I thought he looked pretty good on them. A lot of it out of the shotgun. I don't know how much of that Michigan did.
Yeah, I would imagine that Kyren's still going to be the feature back there. So
he will.
The first question is, do I move him behind Jonathan Taylor? I already had him behind Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, I don't think I can do that just because of the catches that he'll get. But do I keep him as a first-round pick? I might put some receivers ahead of Kyren Williams, just on the off chance that instead of getting 12 touchdowns, he gets 9. And instead of getting 260 carries, he gets 225. You know, it's going to be smart for the Rams to do this. Blake Corum is a little bit older, certainly physical. He can take some of that work away from Kyren Williams so that they don't stress Kyren that much. and they'll roll with 2 guys. But I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B type deal and not a even split type deal. So Corum might get anywhere from 7 to 12 carries a game, depending on game flow.
Is Kyron Williams in a better spot right now than Saquon Barkley?
Oh, good question.
Because that's what's next for me in the rankings.
Better spot than Barkley.
If you believe that the Eagles got Barkley to completely transform their run game and to take all the pressure off of Jalen Hurts, then Barkley's we're underrating Barkley no matter where we have him ranked. I just don't. I think the option's there for Philadelphia, but I still think the genesis of their offense is going to be Jalen Hurts and what he does as a passer first, runner second, and not putting everything on Saquon like the Giants did, for example.
Sure, but also go back 2 years ago when Miles Sanders had 11 touchdowns in this offense, and DeAndre Swift was basically a 40-catch guy. So if you say right now, Saquon scoring 10 rushing touchdowns and catching 50 passes, he'll be better than Kyron Williams.
Yeah, 50.
He might be better than everybody except for McCaffrey, Hall, and Bijan.
I just want to say, historically, a round 3 running back, a round 3 rookie running back, they don't usually have a big role. Going into this year, the last 9 seasons, we've had 28 running backs selected in round 3. Only 4 of them were top 20 running backs. David Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson, who was RB14, I believe, as a rookie.
But you also have to look at, this is a team that just got huge production out of Kyron Williams. What was his draft value?
I was about to say almost double what Blake Corum was. Blake Corum was like 83rd, and he was around 5 pick. Kyron was around 5 pick in the 160s, like 164 or something like that. So, right, but he didn't do it as a rookie. As a rookie, he did almost nothing. So these rookies, round 3 picks typically don't have big rookie seasons. If you believe
it's not about him having a rookie season, though. Big rookie season. That's not what this is about. This is about how much is he going to take away from Kyron Williams.
Yeah, and Kyron Williams, I mean, I think, Dave, you said some of the carries earlier. I just want to point out he was actually on pace for 323 carries. He was a workhorse last year. Okay, moving on to wide receivers here. And the ones selected today, there were a lot of them, and it started out with a bang with, what did we have? The first 3 picks of round 2 were wide receivers. We had Keon Coleman to the Bills. We had Ladd McConkey, and then, no, that was not, sorry. That was 35th. I don't remember who 35th was, but 37th overall was Jalen Polk going to New England. Did not expect that, Dave. Is this a bad pick, you think?
Polkamania running wild in Foxborough. I don't see what they saw in him, but I liked a lot of his film. I thought that he was, he gave great effort, went all out to catch every pass. Good speed. I think I think he can be like a good number 2 receiver in the NFL someday, but not right away, and probably never a number 1 wide receiver. And you just look at the receivers in New England right now. It's not pretty. There aren't guys there that are great. You might be able to get by without ever having Polk on your fantasy team. He's going to be buried certainly in my dynasty receiver rankings. Maybe good value because he could be a number 2 receiver for Drake May someday. That could end up being 60 catches, 850 yards, 5 touchdowns.
I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to read every wide receiver that was selected on day 2 and tell me how many of them you think could be fantasy relevant. But you're going to have to wait to do that because we're taking a commercial break. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Okay, how many of these guys do you think could be top 40 rookie wide receivers? Just say yes or no. Keon Coleman to the Bills.
Top how many?
40.
Yes.
This year?
Yeah.
In the National Football League.
Sure.
Half PPR?
God, for God's sake, just give me a damn number.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't even want a number. You just want an answer.
I know, but it's my Dumb and Dumber line. Ladd McConkey,
Yes.
Chargers.
Thanks
Yeah.
for clearing that up. Definitely.
It's for everyone out there. Jalen Polk, Patriots.
No.
Nope.
Adonai Mitchell out of Texas going to the Colts.
Nope.
I'm going to say no.
Malachi Corley going
No.
to the Jets.
I'm going to say sorely no.
Jermaine Burton, probably the exact opposite of Malachi Corley. He goes to the Bengals out of Alabama.
No. Unless Higgins is traded.
I don't know if he gets 40 targets.
He had, do you know what his ADOT was? Jermaine Burton?
1 billion.
20 yards. Third highest ADOT in the country. Roman Wilson to the Steelers. Hello. What do you think?
Yes.
I'm going to say he's barely outside the top 40.
Jalen McMillan to the Bucks.
No.
No, sir.
So this is a slot guy, right? Jalen McMillan out of Washington. I'm pretty sure he's a slot guy. Kind of a bigger one. Okay. Anyway, Luke McCaffrey out of Rice going to the Washington Commanders with the last pick of round 3, 100th overall.
Unlikely.
He could, but no.
All right. So it seems like if you were ranking them, you'd rank them McConkey. That's just obviously not the day one guys. McConkey, Keon Coleman, and then Roman Wilson to the Steelers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about?
And I would take McConkey and Coleman, as I said before. I would take them over Xavier Legette. I would take them over Ricky Pearsall. Take them over Firmino Dunze in redraft.
And Brian
Where
Thomas.
do you have Brian Thomas in
Thomas,
relation to those guys?
Behind.
Why?
I think Thomas is raw. I think also, these guys are going to get more targets than him in their respective offenses.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Sensible. Sure.
And Worthy over those guys too.
Yeah, Worthy's top 5.
What kind of
Worthy
upside?
and McConkey over Dunze doesn't sit right with me. We'll talk about that as the weeks go on and on.
This is the talent versus opportunity thing, right? It's all it is. What kind of upside do you think Roman Wilson has with the Steelers?
He could be second on the team in targets pretty easily, and he's probably going to be their most diverse route runner right away. Just doesn't have the same physical tools as Pickens. Might be faster than Pickens. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he had a really good camp, because that's a coaching staff. They don't give a damn about where you were drafted or what you're getting paid. If you're good, you're going to play. If he has a really good camp, man, he might lead the team in targets this year. I'm not going to rank it that way. I'm not going to draft him that way. And I'm not going to love who he's catching targets from. And we know that the offensive coordinator there may not throw a ton. He might order a bunch of runs, but he could be in that 5.5 to 6 target per game average. It's not great for fantasy, but it's somebody who could be bye week replacement type, bench type.
I like that description, by the way. So Arthur Smith goes to a restaurant. He says, yeah, can I look at the menu? I'd like to order the runs, please.
Okay. What was I going to ask you? Oh, I know what I was going to say. So last year, Dave and Jamie made a bet about who would lead the Steelers in targets. But also, Jamie and I made a random bet late in the season, a 1 week bet, Chigakonkwo versus someone, and I won. And Jamie and I went out to lunch a week ago, and Jamie didn't buy me lunch. And that is as much my fault as it is yours.
I forgot, yeah.
But yeah, you still owe me lunch, Jamie.
It's probably because you took me to the most expensive deli in South Florida.
$17 a pound for chicken salad. Are you kidding me? It's such an insult. What an insult. At least Jamie liked the food, though. All right, how about from a dynasty standpoint? I mean, I look at a guy like Adonai Mitchell, These guys have some appeal. Mitchell, Mitchell to the Colts, Corley to the Jets. And I said Corley and Jermaine Burton were opposites. Corley is a guy who led the nation in yak. People say he's like a running back playing wide receiver, that you couldn't find a better.
You're getting like mini Debo Samuel comparison.
Right.
You couldn't compare a rookie to a veteran any better than Malachi Corley to Debo Samuel. Not to say,
well, Heath brought up a good one too that flopped in Laviska Shenault.
Oh, all right. But that's what Malachi Corley is. And he was the first pick of round 3, 65th overall. And then McMillan maybe bide his time with Tampa Bay, McCaffrey with Washington. Dave, from a dynasty standpoint, what excites you here? You can throw in Coleman, McConkey, Polk, whatever.
Not a lot. Not a lot excites me from dynasty. There are a bunch of players who I think can be serviceable NFL receivers for a long time, but not necessarily great for fantasy. You got to love Coleman's opportunity. I think Leggett will get a good opportunity, although haven't like the last 2 receivers that Carolina has spent good capital on like fizzled out after 4 games?
No. Well, DJ Moore. Is there another?
Talking about Marshall and Mingo?
Yeah.
Who was the first one?
Terrace Marshall.
Oh, Terrace Marshall. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Round two pick wide receivers, round 2 picks in general, they're not that good. Round 2 pick wide receivers usually fail. It's unfortunate. Sorry to say it, but it's
that's
true.
why it feels like the 2 guys at the top are worth investing in, though, because it's like how Heath will always give us a hard time about in 5 games, if he was 19 points per game, he was great. It's like a point per game or a point shy of what the threshold is. we're knocking them. They're 2 picks outside the first round. We're knocking them for just missing the threshold. But there's opportunities there for those 2 guys in Coleman and
McConkey.
And McConkey.
No question about it, especially for McConkey.
Yeah, this was a deep receiver class. We kept saying that. Unfortunately, what were there 7 in the first round? So those were receivers 8 and 9. All right. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. So Garrett Wilson, the last thing on that. Any downgrade at all to his ranking with them drafting Corley?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit with Michael Pittman too, with the addition of Mitchell. I don't think so.
Yeah. What do you think about Ben Sinnott going to the Washington Commanders? 2nd round pick, tight end out of Kansas State. Ran a 4.68 40. That's a pretty good time. I do think it's fun, because there are some people question Jaden Daniels' ability to throw over the middle of the field. So we'll see how that translates with Ben Sinnott. But yeah, we're going to like Bowers as a top 10 tight end. Do we have any hope, or not hope, any thought of ranking Ben Sinnott as a top 12 tight end, maybe right there at the back end?
Nope.
No.
Haven't thought about it.
Top 20, yes. Top 15, probably not.
I think I can go the entirety of the 2024 draft season without taking Ben Sinnott.
Do you think that's smart? Or is he worth the gamble?
Yeah, because I can probably pick him up off the waiver wire if he does anything good.
Well, that's true. But
he's not. I would be surprised if he's fast tracked to the starting lineup. We saw Jaden Daniels, and I mean, this is more of a byproduct of who he was playing with at LSU, Adam, but he almost never leaned on his tight ends. I don't know if this offense will call for heavy tight end usage. What's the path for Ben Sinnott in 2024 to be anything more than a possible bye week replacement?
Well, Dalton Kincaid was tight end 12 and Sam Laporta was tight end 13 in ADP last year, according to Fantasy Pros. So you
Where
never
was Mayer?
Mayer was nowhere to be found, basically.
Right,
29. But we don't know what he could be. He's a 2nd round pick. Maybe he could be more like Laporta than Mayer, and he's got a chance. I mean, he could be the best. He could be the 2nd best pass catcher on Washington.
He could, but I think with hopefully a resurgent Jahan Dotson, they add McCaffrey, you got to assume McLaurin's going to be the number 1 guy, and let's not discount the running back that they brought in, who's, still, no matter what you think of him as he's getting older, is still going to be a very good pass catcher.
It's 12:22 in the morning, and we're talking about Ben Sinnott for like 5 minutes.
Actually, it's Ben Sinnott. And he deserves it, Dave. This is an NFL draft show. He deserves it. Don't look. You cannot discount.
He was in Meet the Parents, right?
Nowhere. He was in Meet the Parents. Ben Sinnott. Yeah, I think he was. I liked him in heavyweights. But what was it? Yeah. No, that's the thing. You can't good tight ends. Great fantasy tight ends come out of nowhere every single year. It happens.
But that's the thing. It's like we're gonna and attach this to Bowers too. Rookie tight ends just don't typically play well. They just don't. It's.
Do you still believe that? Because it's been a little bit different lately.
Well, we've had 2 in the last 5 years.
2 in the last 3 years, I'd say. I mean, I know Pitts didn't have the touchdowns, but he set the yards record.
Yeah, he was excellent. 1,000 yards, second tight end to ever do that, behind Mike Ditka, who did it in the 60s. So it's rare. And I think the hope would be is, you mentioned that the hope would be he's Dalton Kincaid. You can't expect Laporta.
Yeah. No. But I expect the unexpected with tight ends. So I will do that.
Are you going to draft him with your last pick? Ben Sinnott.
Maybe. No, not at this point, but it wouldn't take much for me to get there. A couple of good reports and I'm in.
True.
All right. You have any
minutes.
Tip Ryman was drafted by Arizona. He's a blocking guy. No concerns here with McBride, right?
No.
Okay.
No. There are other pass catcher that they drafted is a bigger concern.
Yeah.
Actually, Benson too. You don't think he's going to take away some targets from everybody?
No.
Not a lot, but some. He can catch the ball.
Why would he
take away targets from
Why would he take away targets from McBride?
Because they're both going to be short area weapons, and he's fast.
But that's coming from the running back position. It's not coming from the tight end.
Dave, let's talk about Ben Sinnott. Okay. We could go now, unless you guys want to say anything about the offensive. Dave left. Unless you want to say anything about the offensive lineman. Yeah.
No, I'm just curious what's next for tomorrow. Like, is there anything bigger than the Cowboys' backfield?
I don't
Chargers
think so.
backfield a close second.
Troy Franklin, wherever he ends up going, is going to be, people are going to be all over that. But yeah, I mean, do you think at this point that you're going to rank, if the Cowboys take a running back and rank in round 4, that you're going to rank him over Jonathan Brooks on Carolina?
If it's Jalen Wright, yes.
He's healthier. He'll have a better opportunity, but it'll be right. Oh my gosh. It'll be right with somebody else there.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. End this fun. Yeah, go ahead.
If it's Wright, Zeke, and Dowdle, that's just ugly.
Donovan says that the Falcons need insurance for Michael Penix. Maybe they'll take a quarterback.
Spencer Rattler still there.
Yeah.
He sure is. Okay.
Yeah, there's so much conversation about who made the pick.
Oh, yeah. What's the buzz?
Was it Arthur Blank or was it Terry Fontenot?
Well,
I've been told that coaching staff really loved Michael Penix.
Oh, they definitely did. But somebody has to sign off on it. And if the owner wanted it, then done deal.
Well, did you see the video of them talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, I know. But you could use your imagination and make it seem like Arthur Blank was getting an explanation for why the pick was made.
I saw somebody, I'll see if I find it, tweet about just the bad picks that Terry Fontenot has done. Like taking Pitts over Jamar Chase, taking London over Garrett Wilson.
Oh, Pitts over Jamar Chase, I was calling it at the time, was an absolutely horrible pick. I don't know that I would say London over Wilson is a bad pick. I think that's to be determined. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's definitely fair, but
you'd kind of lean that way, wouldn't you? It was not the best pick.
What? London?
Yeah, over G-Dub.
We are acting like Garrett Wilson has had this brilliant start to his career, and he really just has not.
As London? All right, here it is.
Oh.
Taking Pitts over Chase, Micah Parsons, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith. Drake London over Garrett Wilson. Taking a running back over Jalen Carter. and then drafting Penix.
Yeah, there's some eye rollers on that one.
Want to play a fun game?
Is it called End the Show?
What do you got?
So tomorrow we're celebrating my wife's 40th birthday. She and I were both nothing. She and I were both born in that's the truth. 1984. So I printed out some fun 1984 signage. Who won according to this poster, who won the Super Bowl in 1984?
The 84 Super Bowl or in 1984?
I don't think it was the 84 Super Bowl. I think it was the 85 Super Bowl.
49ers.
Super Bowl was the Bears. 84 Super Bowl was the 49ers.
No, the 86 Super Bowl was the Bears. The 85 Bears won.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
It says the Raiders. Is that right? Because it was Dolphins Niners in 83, right? Raiders.
No, Dolphins Niners 84.
No, I think it was 83.
No. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh, Lord.
All right, so maybe it was the 83 Raiders won the 84 Super Bowl. Check on that. Who won the World Series in 84?
84.
I think it was the Tigers.
You got it.
Yeah.
Dave, who won the NBA Finals? Who won the NBA championship or NBA Finals in 84?
The Celtics.
No, it was Ben Sinnott, actually. But he was on the Celtics. Can you name 3 popular movies from 1984? I mean, we've got some smashers here. Absolute classics.
84.
Raiders beat the Redskins in Super Bowl 18, January 22nd, 1984.
Iconic.
84 was that? I think it might have been 83. Return of the Jedi?
No, that's not on here. I think that was like 81, I thought, but maybe not. We've got
84 Ghostbusters?
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters was 84?
Uh-huh.
God, I'm old.
And after that, has Schaefer seen it? That's the other game. I'm saying no, he's never seen the original Ghostbusters.
He's seen the original Ghostbusters.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. Okay. All right, how about Gremlins? Gremlins was 84.
Oh, nice.
Seen that one too.
He loves Gremlins. The original Karate Kid was 84. He's definitely seen that.
Wax on, wax off.
He has a blind spot there. He's never seen the Karate Kid. He's seen the Will Smith one or the Jaden Smith one, whatever.
Wax on, wax off this show?
No, I have. I've seen Karate Kid. I don't
Indiana
remember it at
Jones.
all, but I've seen it.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And then
That's,
last
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah. I think so. Davis out. Footloose. Footloose was 84. Yeah, I knew he hadn't seen that one. Okay.
I did see something. There was like a 40-year reunion or something like that. 40-year anniversary of Footloose. I think Kevin Bacon just went back to the high school, did something there.
Nice. All right. Dave, thanks for your time today.
No problem, man. Happy to be here. Enjoy the show tomorrow, guys. You did a great job. Draft was awesome. Take care.
Okay, we're out of here. Have a good night, everybody. Talk to you. Oh, I won't be there, but Jamie, Heath, and Trapasso Saturday after day 3. Cowboys running back of the future. Later.